What is going on, everyone? Welcome to week 7 of the BBR, going up against GarchompTheGod, aka Austin, coach of the Lawrence Talonflames. Now, we are not playing aDrive. I'm really upset about it, but he ended up dropping the league the week before, like quite literally this week. He dropped the league right before we were going to play our game. He, I believe, lost to the Arizona Diamondbacks, like pretty heftily, and then ended up quitting the league. He said he just wasn't enjoying it. I'm not going to go into the details, but I would be lying if I said I wasn't upset about it. So I'm not going to talk about it because it's going to send me into like a 5-minute rant, but really disappointing, really upsetting. And I hope I get the opportunity again in the future, but I seriously doubt it, given that I won't be playing Sword and Shield proper. So it's okay. We'll play Austin, and Austin's a great guy. Don't really know him too well, but I know a lot of friends of his, and he was so nice that he actually gifted me this microphone that's making my video qualities infinitely better. So massive appreciation to him. Love him. He's such a nice guy. I've had great conversations with him through the process of getting this microphone from him. So really thank you for him for that. And, hopefully it'll be a good game. I was playing this game while I was studying for midterms. I just had midterms for the past about 6 days, where I had about 4 exams and 2 essays to write. I actually even had Matt proofread one of my essays, which was pretty funny. But that being said, I was really busy, didn't really have a ton of time, and even in some games, I won't lie, my playing was lacking because I was spending a lot of time on academics, which I should be. I would obviously, I would happily lose this league if it meant, getting an A in a class by far, obviously. So I'm not trying to complain about it, just I had a lot less time to prepare. And for that reason, I had my good friend Slick Panther, my favorite Irishman, build my team for me. So we're going to go into the team here. You saw Austin's team on the right with Kieran Black, Togekiss, Galvantula, etc. Really great. So Mew with Psychic. He has no Psychic resist with the exception of Mega Absol and a +2 Vacuum Wave kills after rocks. Perfect. At least that's what Slick told me, so I trust him. And then we have a Pursuit Mega Aerodactyl. I don't know why it has Pursuit. I believe it was to Pursuit Trap Decidui. It must have been a Pursuit Trap Decidui. So other than that, Edgequake definitely does beat his team when I was looking at the type matchups. Like all of his resists to all of his Rock Slide resists, I believe, are weak to Earthquake, and all of his Earthquake resists are weak to either Rock Slide or Aerial Ace. So that's really cool. Nidoqueen with the Sugar Berry is meant to get Stealth Rock and Toxic Spikes up. Spike stacking is really good against his team, especially if Mega Absol is down or doesn't come. If I can lead Nidoqueen and just get up one layer of Toxic Spikes, it puts me in a really good position because I think he's more likely to bring Blastoise as a spinner than something like Decidueye as a defogger or Togekiss as a defogger. I don't think Togekiss has the greatest matchup here. And for that reason, according to Slick, it seems like, if his Hazard Clear is going to be grounded, at least forcing it to take that 12% with poison from Toxic Spikes every turn, especially something like Blastoise, which doesn't get recovery, is going to be really crucial for a Mew sweep or a Heatran sweep. As you can see here, we are bringing Grassy MZ with the Solar Beam after a Flame Charge. We outspeed everything. And Grassy MZ Solar Beam is meant to kill the Blastoise. Everything else is relatively weak to Fire Blast, and Earth Power hits the Lycanroc as well, which means it is a good time. The only thing this thing struggles with is Togekiss, but I feel relatively confident dealing with Togekiss given Mew sets up on it. I got Nidoqueen, I got Mega Aerodactyl. So, and like I said, I don't even think it's coming based on the matchup. I have 2 Steel types and, Mega Aerodactyl. So it's definitely a difficult bring for Austin to have. The next one is Whimsicott with Moonblast, Sub, Leech Seed, and Stun Spore. I believe Stun Spore was for I don't remember what Stun Spore was for. Maybe the Nidoking potentially. But I do know for a fact Moonblast hits the team very well, and Sub and Leech Seed does as well. The only thing we have to be careful about is Mega Absol, but yeah, we'll see. The one thing that I do sort of disagree with Slick on the spread on, but I didn't end up changing, is I just think this should have been max speed. It should have outspeed Absol and then, made sure it was outspeeding things like Kyurem. So you'll see how that comes into factor in the game itself. But yeah, definitely something I would have preferred a bit faster, maybe like max HP, max speed on this set. But other than that, Very, very cool Whimsicott set there. And then last one is the Suicune with Scald, Toxic, Sub, and Protect. Very disgusting, very ugly, but you know what? That's who we are, and you can't judge me for it. So that is the team. We will get into the game. All right, and we are here in our game against Austin. As you can see, he does not bring the Togekiss like I predicted numerous times in the team builder. The other thing that he didn't bring that was relatively surprising was the Jirachi. And given I have things like Heatran and Kartana and Suicune, it's reasonable to say that, you know, it was definitely like 4-move slot syndrome, I presume, but was pretty interested to see things like the Lycanroc, given I have things like Kartana and given I have things like Whimsicott. I was also pretty surprised not to see the Blaziken. Blaziken's another mon that I was a little bit scared of. Once Suicune is down, it definitely did a lot to my team. But everything else basically makes sense. In all fairness, like between all of his mons outside of Togekiss, I really could have been anything. Togekiss and Kecleon. I didn't think Kecleon was coming. So we're going to get into our game against Austin. I believe I'm going to lead with Nidoqueen, I think. I'm pretty sure. I don't even remember. I played this game like a week ago. But I believe we're leading off with Nidoqueen. He leads with Galvantula. Yes, we do lead off with Nidoqueen. I remember this all now. I promise. This will be a good post-com. I promise. I suck at post-coms, y'all. Live comms are so much better. I wish I could do live comms on this shit. But it's okay. We're doing this together. I'm sorry. Anyway. He switches out Galvantula. I thought he was going to go for webs and just sort of do suicide webs, but he actually switches out Galvantula, which is absolutely fine by me because I opt to go for T-Spikes here. And, I figured, this is the opportunity to get things guaranteed poisoned, especially since Absol is not in Magic Bounce yet. It's definitely going to force a few things to be poisoned, given he has no grounded poison to send out to combat this. So I'm going to go into my Suicune here because it does hard wall this thing if it's not a substitute set. Because I have the pressure, I also outstall things like Fusion Bolt, but he is actually a substitute set, which is really bad for me because I only have Scald and Toxic, and it means that if this thing, even if it has Fusion Bolt, it's going to be doing a lot to me, and I'm a little scared he has a Z-move, given that he did not reveal Leftovers. So I'm going to go into my Mew here, which, because it has Roost, it has some level of sustainability, and also he can't really KO me with anything. The only thing that is going to do a significant amount of damage is the Free Shock, and that can't KO me from this range. So there's no one move that Kyurem can use that can KO me from this range. So I'm just going to go for a Psychic right here to break this up. As bad as this seems right now for me, it's not the worst case scenario because I'm going to get to see what kind of spread this is. And when he goes for a Fusion Bolt, I basically learned that he is somewhat attack invested, but not very attack invested. And the fact that Psychic broke that sub also shows he's not especially defensive. So my sort of feeling is that he's like sort of some HP, some attack, some speed. That's my sort of initial assumption, which would lead me to believe that he is some form of Z move with sub. So he goes into his Absol here on my Roost. I opt to go for a Roost here because Z Free Shock I was in range of at this point in time. So I go for a Roost to get myself out of that range as he is an Absol, which is absolutely fine by me because now Absol is in a range where after one layer of spikes, it is 100% in +2 Vacuum Wave range. And if he stays in again, he will be 100% guaranteed to have that. So I go into my Whimsicott, basically lying to him about how fast I am, basically trying to scare him out because, that's the best I can do. I sort of realize I'm not faster than Absol, but I still sort of make the play as risky as it is. He goes for knockoff here. This was really my only switch in Absol, so it makes sense. Now, I predicted him to switch out, but I still figured that Moonblast was the safest play because even if he goes into something else, there's no reason to go for sub. There's no reason to go for any of these other things. Even if he stays in, nothing's going to kill me with the exception of Poison Jab / HP Poison / Iron Tail. So I didn't think he would have any of those, and Moonblast is just going to pick up the kill, which is going to be absolutely huge here. The crit did not matter, and even if it did, which there was a very, very small chance, Poison, it was in range Poison anyway. Now here I actually opt to switch out. I think that there's still some utility in Whimsicott, given that it could still scare out the Kyurem, despite me being not fast enough to outspeed the Kyurem, which once again is a little bit of a rough situation, but we can play around it. I'm just going to go into my Nidoqueen here on the Bug Buzz. There's nothing this thing can do that's going to scare me too much. It doesn't get any sort of Psychic type move or anything of that sort, and judging by the Bug Buzz damage, it's very clear to me that this doesn't scare me too much. I just thought that this thing was Focus Sash and was just going to get webs at this point, but he switches out again and forces his Blastoise to get poisoned. Now, this is absolutely fine by me. It means that essentially I don't really need T-Spikes up anymore. I'm going to go for my rocks here, which is, fine. Not entirely necessary, but yeah, I figured it was important because he was going to incentivize him. Either, he didn't have a spinner and this was going to be a huge deal, or it was going to incentivize him to start bringing out his spinner, getting that clearing off, and giving me momentum in turn. So he is going to go right here for the rapid spin, as you can see, basically forcing that with the T-Spikes and the rocks up, and there the hazards are gone. And I'm going to go into my Suicune. Now, Suicune 100% sets up a substitute in front of this thing every time. So my thought process was that he was going to go right back into Kyurem, given the fact that my thought process was that he was going to go right back into Kyurem, given that he, basically walls this thing. And I go for Toxic, predicting that. He predicts that prediction and goes for Roar, which is absolutely fine by me, but it does drag out my Mega Aerodactyl, which is really unfortunate because there's nothing I can do to do significant damage to this Blastoise, and it's going to do significant damage to me. So I'm going to switch out one more time into my Whimsicott. I don't think he's going to go for anything too scary, and if he goes for an offensive move and ends up killing me, that's fine. It'll give me momentum, but he actually does make the switch into Christopher, which is the the freaking Kyurem Black, which is absolutely wild to me. I guess he just was 100% sure I'd switch out, which totally works. But thankfully, he is scared out, despite him definitely outspeeding my Whimsicott. He is scared out from the Moonblast, which is absolutely fine, as I will go for the Moonblast this turn. I didn't want to go for Stun Spore, one, on the off chance that this came in, and two, because I didn't want to make it clear that I wasn't faster. I figured the bluff could be nice in the future as well. But he does go into Decidueye, and it does reveal to be either max HP, max bit F, or Assault Vest. And this U-turn damage doesn't really help me. If you went for something like Spirit Shackle, I could calc to see if he has attack investment. But, 0 attack and max Adamant was still going to be doing like between 6 to 8 HP, which I think this did 8 HP. So be it. He goes into his Lycanroc here. I'm a little close to just clicking a Z move, thinking he's going to SD, but it's a little bit too real for my taste. And I'm actually okay if he goes for SD with me sacking off something like Suicune, but he actually just goes for the real run here. Reveals to me that he is Life Orb, and this damage is huge. It definitely scares me a lot, but it is a critical hit, and it is Life Orb. Thankfully, I'm out of range of any sort of Stone Edge hit. Z Stone Edge will, or sorry, not a Z Stone Edge, but a crit Stone Edge will do it. But I don't think he's going to risk that for any reason whatsoever, as he does go into the Decidueye once again. Now, I believe I go for Toxic on this turn. Yes, I do, because I don't think he's going to stay in, and he's obviously going to go into either Decidueye or Kyurem, or just Blastoise again, but Blastoise wouldn't make too much sense. So I go for Toxic. He does bring in Decidueye and not Kyurem, which is absolutely perfect. So now this thing is poisoned, which is perfect. If he's Assault Vest, that's even better because it means he has no way of recovering that HP. As I will, I think I wanted to go for Substitute here, but I think I actually opted to switch. I don't actually remember. We'll find out together. I actually go for Protect. So probably should have gone for Substitute here. Maybe I don't have Substitute. What am I misremembering? Toxic, Protect, Sub, Scald. No, I definitely have Sub. I was just an idiot. So I don't go for Sub. I go for Protect. And he makes a double into Galvantula, which is fine by me. I actually ended up going for the Scald, or the Protect here again, just to get extra chip on the Blastoise, and there was, just get extra leftovers recovery. It was fine by me. It wasn't going to do anything. And if he brought this thing in, it's a very, very, very free Nidoqueen. So I'm going to go into my Nidoqueen here because it is 100% safe of a play, and he can't really make any good doubles because really anything he goes into, barring the Lycanroc, is something that's not going to be KOing my Nidoqueen from this range. So I go to my Nidoqueen, and now he's forced in a position where he has to take pretty massive damage with something, and or I could go for rocks. I can go for hazards. I think I actually end up deciding to do that because even if he goes into something like Kyurem, it's going to put me in a position where I am able to go for rocks, and rocks is going to start getting things in range of either Mew or in range of Heatran in the end game. So I am just going to get damage off on this, I decide. Even though Galvantula is a little bit annoying, it doesn't seem strong enough to actually be something I'm too concerned about. He's clearly not going for webs, so I ultimately decide I don't want this thing setting up a substitute. I feel like that would be pretty annoying, so I just sort of want to get damage off on it. And you do start doing the Mew thing. Start doing the Mew thing before anything else can. And now if I get up to +2, Galvantula is in range of a Vacuum Wave. So that's pretty cool. Plus, I believe, yeah, if I get a +2, Galvantula is in range of a Vacuum Wave, which is really cool. He just starts Roost spamming me on the Psychics. Roost is recovering more than Psychic is doing, but I haven't revealed Nasty Plot yet, so I will go ahead and do that here and reveal the Nasty Plot, which is absolutely fine. At this point, because he stayed in, he can't go in anything. He essentially has to choose something to sack. Thankfully, for me, he does reveal the Z move here, which is perfectly fine. It means that other things like Decidueye don't have the Z move, and I don't have to worry about it too much, and no matter what this is, it's not killing me. It ends up being the Gigavolt Havoc, which is only going to do a little over half, I think. And that's something I can very, 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 very easily roost off, which is perfect. So we will see Mew get Gigavolted here by a Kyurem, and you'll see beautiful Mew eat it up like the legend is. That did a little bit more than 50%, but I believe I still took a Z Freeze Shock. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I calced wrong in this game. Who knows? But point is we lived, so that's what matters. I will go for Roost here. Basically puts me in a position where I can get up to a position of full health, or at least as high up health as I can between leftovers and none of his moves doing over half to me anymore, which is absolutely perfect. There is the risk of Fusion Bolt. I believe Fusion Bolt can paralyze. I don't actually know. So that being said, though, he's going to run out of Fusion Bolts at some point. So I ultimately decided just Psychic. I don't want to Roost spam or do anything of that sort. I also don't feel necessarily like I need to do any of that Roost spam. I feel like I can pretty simply just go for damage after damage. I outspeed everything barring the Lycanroc, which I can Vacuum Wave. So I sort of just think I can Roost with Mew and get in a good position for myself, and it'll be a good time. So yeah, he goes for Roost here, and it's just gonna once again sort of be this back and forth situation of, you know, a very strong Mew just waiting to take Kyurem, but sort of getting up to a healthier percent just to ensure everything's absolutely okay. So he does switch out here, actually. I thought he was gonna, you know, stay in and just sack the Kyurem given how he's been playing it, but he actually decides to go into the Decidueye, which is perfectly fine by me. After the Toxic and the Rocks, Psychic is going to be doing enough, and actually Psychic picks up the KO despite this thing being very specially defensive according to my calc. So Psychic does pick up the KO on this thing, which is absolutely perfect, and it's going to get me in a really great leftovers range. So he goes into his Galvantula here, and I have to make a decision. I could hypothetically just stay in and try and Vacuum Wave this thing, but I sort of misplay. I think I could have stayed in, but I didn't. I feel like I could have just Vacuum Waved and won. But my mentality was, say he gets like a Bug Buzz crit and kills me, then I'm in a position say he Bug Buzzes me, right, and gets me in range of like a Cell Rock, then all of a sudden Lycanroc is looking pretty good against my team. And I figured the best case scenario was actually just to sack Whimsicott and go for the guaranteed win with Flame Charge. I think I was just running out of time to do calcs, and I probably could have just won 5-0 with Mew. That being said, I think I just felt more comfortable. Maybe I'm underestimating Galvantula's ability to take a Vacuum Wave, but it was like at 35%. I'm pretty sure it didn't take one at +2, but maybe it did. Who knows? But I figured it was better to not risk the Bug Buzz plus a Cell Rock roll, in which case Lycanroc would be an offensive threat to my team, and it would be a better case scenario to force Whimsicott to be sacked to the the Galvantula, so that I can get in Heatran safely and guarantee a kill with Flame Charge, which guaranteed killed the rest of his team. That was a long-winded way of me explaining why I just wanted to get a Heatran sweep instead of a Mew sweep. But spoiler alert, it ended up working. I guaranteed killed the rest of his team, and it ended up working out, and Heatran claims its second sweep of the season. Second sweep, getting 4 kills, which is, I believe, what it got last time against Zombie, although it didn't actually get certain kills. I think like 2 mons died to Rocks, but still, Heatran coming in as a late games cleaner, which is not what I expected it to be doing this season, but it's been working. I feel like I'm really good at like using mons for roles that they're not typically in. I remember in GUU, I brought offensive Celesteela like exclusively, and now I'm bringing offensive Heatran like exclusively, and I brought like, you know, defensive Reshiram instead of offensive, and it's just like, now here I am sort of bringing I'm bringing some pretty typical sets though with like Nidoqueen and Suicune. But that being said, I'm bringing like Komala super offensively rather than sort of like a Wish Passer. But regardless, we get the win against Austin, which is absolutely fantastic. It puts us up to a 6-1 record, which is perfect. I don't think we're clinched for playoffs, but we are in a position where it's going to be very difficult to not make playoffs at this point, given that we have the highest differential in league. So I'm going to expand this actually just a little bit so you don't see my sidebar. But yeah, we have the highest differential in the league. We are 6-1 plus 20, which means the absolute worst we could do is 6-3 plus 8, which is fine. If that doesn't make playoffs, I'd be stunned. So we're going to play Love next week. I already started looking at our matchups. Slick built a team for me because I thought we were going to play a little bit earlier, but now midterms are over and I might sort of make my own team. I'm not 100% sure because he sent me the team and it was just something. It was a good team, but it was just one of the things that I was like, this isn't really my play style. I don't know if I'm super comfortable with it. So we'll see how it goes. I'm sort of back and forth between a few things. That being said, I did make one free agent that is good for announcing, and that is that I traded Rotom, regular Rotom, for Dusk Noir. So it was originally going to be Dusclops, but I ended up deciding that I wanted a little bit more offensive potential. If I'm losing Rotom, and I already have things like Guzzlord, which are, sort of monstrous defensive mons, I don't want anything too absurdly passive. I think sort of if my team becomes Suicune plus Dusclops 1 week per se, it's really susceptible to things like Taunt. And Dusclops with 100, or Dusk Noir with 100 attack is going to be really, really nice. So yes, we do lose Rotom, but we still have 5 other hazard clears. That's not a huge deal. We do lose an electric type, but in return, we get a bulky ghost type with strong ghost offenses that, I'll be the first to admit I'm skeptical of Dusknoir. I don't think it's going to be too good, but looking at matchups, I think it has good matchups in both my next 2 games and in future playoff matches. So that's all I need. I think Rotom, the problem with Rotom is it just like never needed to come in any situation ever. Like the one time I brought it against Mid-Pokemaster, I brought it exclusively because I was like, oh, it doesn't have a horrific matchup this time, so let's bring it. But I probably could have still brought something else and it didn't jack shit in that game anyway. So we'll see how Dusknoir works, and we will give it our best shot. But that being said, I will see you all later. Thank you for watching. Thank you for staying tuned with the BBR. Hopefully, we can finish with an 8-1 record, but regardless, I think we've made playoffs at this point. Not like mathematically guaranteed, but I'm pretty sure we have. So we'll see how it goes, and we'll see how the future weeks hold, and I will keep you all posted, and I will see you all later.